Hello, everybody. Welcome or welcome back to the channel, and welcome to everything that I read in the month of July. So, as I was mentioning in my previous video here on the channel, I started the month of July with rereading Heartstopper volumes 1 through 5, obviously in preparation for the very highly anticipated finale of this series, which is Heartstopper Volume 6. I am so pleased and so happy and just like ecstatic about the finale of this series because we've been waiting for this for a long time. And I think Alice Osman did an amazing job with volume 6 as well, to no one's surprise. If you somehow don't know what this series is about, it basically follows Nick and Charlie. It is a graphic novel, so all of the things are illustrated. The dialogue is so well done, and it just portrays what it is or like what it feels like to be a teenager so well. So Nick and Charlie, who are also portrayed on the cover of this volume as well, they are two high schoolers. Charlie is openly gay and he has been struggling a lot with bullying, and he's also struggling with his mental health. All of the people that are around him are trying to help him, obviously, as much as they can, but he reaches a point where he just needs specialized help. And those topics are handled with so much care and respect for the character. And I just think it is so important to have those kinds of discussions and topics in works that are targeted toward a younger demographic. So that is Charlie on one side. And then on the other side, we have Nick, who is the jock type in a way, but he's also so emotionally intelligent, and he starts to develop feelings for Charlie, but he is not fully aware of that, at least not in the beginning of volume 1. And he is just trying to navigate this new identity that he discovers. And yeah, they are so sweet how they care for one another, and also how they navigate certain topics like having your first, what feels like the first real relationship, and navigating what it is to be on the cusp of graduating high school and moving to college and not knowing exactly what you want to do with your life. And all of those struggles that felt bigger than the world when you were a teenager, but now as an adult, they just feel like a very far away thing. This particular series does that feeling of what it is to be a teenager so well. Alice Osman in general is great at portraying teenagers and their struggles, either it being with identity or mental health or sexuality or stuff like that. And this is true for all of her works. It doesn't matter if it is a graphic novel or an actual novel. I also read Solitaire and Radio Silence by the same author, and those books are amazing as well. Alice Osman is an author that I will forever and ever cherish, and I just think we are so lucky to live in a world where we have books like Heartstopper. So, Volume 6 is out right now. Go ahead and read it if you read the other volumes. And if not, I think this is a great time to pick up this series because it is completed and you can just binge all of them in one go. So, yeah, this is Heartstopper Volume 6. It is so hot in my house when I'm filming this, and I obviously can't turn on the AC because my mic is going to pick it up. So I just have to deal with that for the moment. But moving along from Heartstopper, the next book that I read is called This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. The plot of this book is basically what would happen if you would suddenly wake up in your favorite fantasy world. And it just so happens that this series of this fantasy world is not yet finished or completed, and so you know what is going to happen up until a certain point, but then everything's kind of left for you to guess. And our main character, Maggie, she is just waking up one day in this world that feels familiar, but yet she doesn't really know what happens until she realizes, wait, this is my favorite series. And I just have to survive in this very cutthroat fantasy world. She knows exactly what she has to do in order to kind of like climb up the political ladder and try to be as successful as she can be in this fantasy world, while also trying to save the world, while also trying to figure out what's happening to her and how she did end up in this situation, and also maybe trying to uncover a murderous plot potentially. But yeah, this was really fun. It is bonkers at times, but I think the plot twists and turns and all of the machinations, all of the political machinations, I should say, are so fun and refreshing. And some of them are done a bit heavy handedly, but I think it just is part of the charm of this book. There is a specific point when Maggie meets another character that is described very differently in the books. And basically, the image that she has in front of her doesn't really match up with the image that was described in the books. And so she's wondering, like, I wonder why this character is so different than what I had pictured in my head. And obviously, when you're kind of like described that situation, you as a reader know that something's going on with that character and something is not right with them. But as she continues to trust this character, it just changes the narrative so much, and it is really cool and fun to see. So I had a great time reading this book, and I'm very excited to potentially read the sequel of this first book in this series, but I just know I will have to wait some time for that because I believe this book was very recently published, and so I will have to wait another year potentially. So yeah, this is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. This was a very nice surprise, and I had a great time reading this book in July. Next up, I read a short story collection by an author that I absolutely love, and that is Amal El Motar's Seasons of Glass and Iron. This is basically an anthology of short stories that Amal Motar wrote for different occasions, either it being in like magazines or a specific essay collection or stuff like that. And she compiled all of these short stories in this actual book. They are all following kind of like women and women loving women potentially. But yeah, I think all of the stories are so well written. Like, I don't really care what they are about as long as they are well written, and all of them are in this book. There is this thing mentioned in the introduction of this book that I will try to find right now, but it is basically the description of what it means to have like an anthology of short stories. And I think that definition is so well done and so true for this short story collection. So Amal Motar says in the introduction of this book, a fellow author once told me that they thought a short story collection should make a coherent aesthetic argument, which impressed me enough that I repeated it to my students over the years. And this is exactly what this book is an aesthetic argument, and a coherent one at that, of this author's writing. And I just loved it. Did I like all of the stories? The majority of them, yes. If you never read anything by Amal Motar and you want to experience this author's writing, I think this book would be great for that. But also, if you read some other books from Amal Motar in the past and you enjoyed them, I also think you would enjoy this short story collection. So, once again, this is Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El Motar. In the past, I read The River Has Roots from Amal El Motar, and I deeply enjoyed that book. It is so lyrical and whimsical and just gorgeously written about these two sisters that are living in a world where grammar is their magic system. And I really enjoyed that one when I read it last year or 2 years ago. And so I was really excited to pick this book up when I saw it in the bookstore. Moving along to another Amal Motar book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, but I was just kind of intimidated by it. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal Motar in collaboration with Max Gladstone, or co-written by Amal Motar and Max Gladstone, I should say. This is kind of sci-fi and time travel-y, and I was just scared to get into this book because I don't really do that well with sci-fi at this moment in my life. And so I was scared that I would not enjoy this book. And let me tell you, do I have any idea of what happened in this book? Absolutely none. Did I still enjoy it? Yes. Yes, I did, because it is written so well. It is so poetic and so well done that I just reached a point where I didn't really care for the plot of this book, and I didn't really care that I was not really like understanding what was going on between these characters. And I think it is meant to be a bit confusing, if you will. But basically, this book follows two rival agents that are basically traveling through time to torment each other, but then they kind of find out that they love each other, and they're reading or writing each other letters, and they are finding these letters through time, and they are trying to find each other's camps, and they are trying to destroy one another, but in the same time they are kind of reluctant at doing that just because they realize they are in love. And this is so weird, but in the same time so gorgeous and lyrical. And the ending of this one makes total sense and no sense at all. And all of this book is basically comprised of these letters that these two agents are writing to one another. And I don't think I ever read an epistolary novel, but this was really well written, and so I did really enjoy it. Do I wish for the plot to make more sense in my head? Yes, but this was nonetheless a great time. So this is How You Lose the Time War by Amal Motar and Max Gladstone. I am very happy that I finally got to reading this book. Next up, I read a book that I kept seeing it being mentioned in like different videos, and I also saw it in bookstores from time to time, and I was always very interested in reading it, and now I finally got to reading it. But this is The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I had such a great time reading this book. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but this was so surprising in the sense that in the first half of the story, it is truly like it just feels like literary fiction. Like, it is so well portrayed, everything that happens and all of these characters and their situation and their kind of like inner feelings and stuff like that. And then in the second half of this book, everything just turns into this really hard to believe fantasy plot, or plot I should say. But because it is so crazy and bonkers, it just makes it so fun and so enjoyable that you don't really care about the fact that the story that was told at the beginning of the book is kind of like derailed by all of these crazy, crazy things that are happening to these characters. In this book, we are following our main character, Amina, who is a former pirate, and she is currently living what seems to be a very chill and uneventful life alongside her daughter. But one day she is visited by the very wealthy mother of one of her former crewmates. And this woman wants for Amina to retrieve her granddaughter because she was kidnapped by a very powerful guy. And obviously, she offers Amina a very large sum of money for her to do that. On one side, she wants to accept this mission and she wants to accept the money because she wants to provide for her daughter and she wants to make sure that her daughter will have the best situation that she can have. But then on the other side, she has to acknowledge the fact that if she chooses to go on this mission, she might as well not make it out alive. And so the plot of this book is set in motion. And while Amina chooses to accept this mission and she chooses to track down this woman's granddaughter, she might alongside discover some very troubling things about her past, and we as readers will find out who Amina's daughter's father is and everything that she did in her former life as a pirate. As I was saying, the second half of this book is so crazy and bonkers, but in the same time, it is so fun and enjoyable to read. And yeah, I had a great time reading this book. This book really reminded me of what it is to be a kid and read 200 or no 2000 Leagues Under the Seas by Jules Verne, because it is imbued with this sense of awe and fascination and obviously adventure. And yeah, I had a great time with this book. I do believe the second installment of this series is currently out right now, so I might want to look into that in the future. But yeah, this is the adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. I had a great time with this one. And then last but not least, I can't really say that I had a great time with this book, but I did love it. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for such a long time, and this month I finally managed to finish it. This is obviously A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I started reading this one a couple of months back. But the thing is that this book is so heavy in its subject matter, and so I think I read close to 200 pages from this book. It is very chunky, as you can see. And so I read 200 pages from this book, and I just didn't really feel in the mood to navigate all of the crazy things that are happening to the characters in this one, and I decided to put it aside. But in the month of July, I started reading this one from the beginning once again, and this time around, I managed to push through and finish it. The thing is, everyone warned me about the very heavy topics that are portrayed in this book, and I was just so curious as to what those very heavy topics could be. But it's just so much more than I thought initially. This book, A Little Life, follows the lives of four best friends that are living in New York, and they are starting to navigate this very tough life. They are broke. They somewhat know what to do with their lives, but in the same time, they don't really have the tools to do everything that they want to do. And it just follows these characters at specific points in their lives. It starts with them being in their early 20s, I believe. And it follows these characters around up until they are 50 or 60, something like that. So in this book, we have Jude, JB, Malcolm, and Willem. And Jude is our main character, but he is portrayed kind of like in relation with all of the other characters. He was having a very, very tough upbringing, to say the least, and he was abused a lot when he was a kid. So just like, if you think you can't handle that, please don't go into this one, because you will be a wreck by the time you're finishing it. Everything that happens to Jude is done in a way to shock the reader. I had this feeling when I was reading this book that, like, he goes through so much just to get something out of the reader, but the way that his mental health is portrayed, and the way that we slowly find out more and more and more of his past, of his childhood, of the ways that he was betrayed and abused, and just, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it is so well written, but in the same time devastating. I cried like multiple times when I was reading this, and it is truly one of those books that, like, I don't know if I can recommend it, but if you can read it, and if you can um, just navigate everything that happens in it, I think it is worth it. The way that this book made me feel, not necessarily that it has anything in common with this other book that I want to mention, but The Secret History by Donut Hart. That book just feels like a modern classic. And this book gave me the same feeling. Like, yes, it is tough to get through it, but it is so well done. And I think it just portrays the human existence so well. Once again, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. It broke me, but it was so worth it. And with that, this is everything that I read in the month of July. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to do that. If not, then that's perfectly fine as well. And I guess I'll see you soon with a new video here on the channel. Bye, everyone.